What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Ask Me Anything session with Chris Do, hosted by Adobe. If we're just meeting, my name is Katrina Torrijos, and I am part of the Adobe community team, and I will also be your lovely moderator for this talk. So today will be an AMA style session where I'll be pulling questions to ask Chris from our Zoom chat as well as the Discord server. So if you're not in the Adobe Creative Career Discord server, definitely get in there. We have mentorship, workshops, and giveaways, which, by the way, we will be hosting 3 massive giveaways right after this session, so stay tuned till the end of the session, as well as hop into our Discord for more details on how to enter. Alright, enough chatter, let's give a warm welcome and hype in chat for Chris Do, Emmy award-winning designer, director, CEO and Chief Strategist for Blind, and founder of The Futur, an online education platform with a mission of teaching 1 billion people how to make a living doing what they love. With that said, let's get into the first question. The 1 billion mission. That is a lot of people. Do you have a number at where you're at right now?
It's hard to say. There's a tracker that we've built on our website that officially tracks. So the official number is like 22,000-ish. But if we count all the people who watched, the millions of subscribers and the hundreds of millions of hours of videos watched, I think the number's higher than 22,000, but I'll stick with that for now.
That's still a lot of people that you're impacting. So hopefully we'll get to that 1 billion number soon.
Maybe tonight.
Yeah, maybe tonight. How many people do we have in chat, Megan? I have no idea who's in the session right now, but let's get everybody.
Let's get them all. We'll count today.
Let's get them all, yeah.
It's like Pokemon, catch them all.
Right? Okay, so we'll kick off the AMA now, and we're just gonna ease into it with a nice question. This question comes from Persephone. Again, sorry for pronunciations. I have a hard time with words and names sometimes. But Persephone says, "Hi, Chris. Do you have any role models? Someone who greatly inspired you or shaped and impacted you and or your style?"
Oh, yes. Okay, so role models, I would break them into 2 categories, like real life people that I know, and then design role models. So design role models are very easy, and they're going to be the legends, the pioneers in design. I'm talking about Joseph Mueller Brockman, Yancha Kold, Moholy Naj. I'm forgetting some right now. Stefan Sagmeister, who's still alive. I think his work is incredibly conceptual. Paula Scher, the usual suspects there. And in my real life, it's usually a mix of people that are my family, like my mom and dad. They're huge influences on me in the way that I think. And I came late to that conclusion. It's not like I grew up my entire life thinking, Mom and Dad, you're such a role model. But later in life, I reflect back on the lessons both of them have taught me, and the sacrifices that they made in order for us, their children, to have a better life, and the work ethic they instilled in us, which was really paramount. My older brother, who saw in me something that I didn't see in myself, he was the person who sent me to animation festivals, bought me my first computer, an Amiga 3000. And he's like, I think you want to do this thing called video. And back then I didn't even know what the heck that was. So there are people in my life who've opened doors or kept doors open for me, even though I wasn't willing to walk through them.
Amazing. Chad is asking, Chris, can you turn up your mic a little bit?
Yes, let me double check what's going on here.
It's a little soft.
Little soft? Is this better? Can I keep turning it up?
Is this better, Chad?
Will it break if I keep going all the way up here? I think I'm at the maximum level here. Is that too loud?
Everyone's saying yes, perfect. That's perfect. Okay.
Okay, I'm fine. All right.
200% volume is perfect for everybody. Yes. Okay, awesome. Okay, so next question comes from Anjali Raichura. Hi, Chris. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for educating us with this unique way of teaching. My question for you, or to you, is regarding sales. In your book, trivia, Pocket Full of Dough, you have mentioned in one of your chapters, anchoring bias, that whoever gets to say the price first has the upper hand. And I have also heard people say that if you don't ask the client about their budget first, and if their budget is high, let's say 10K, and your bid is low, 4K, then you are missing out on that money. 6K on the table.
Yep.
Could you please guide me with what is the best way to approach the pricing talk with a client? Should I give them a price range without asking for their budget, or should I ask the budget first?
Okay,
Thank
so
you
who
in
asked this
advance.
question?
Anjali Raichura.
And jelly. Okay,
Yeah.
Angeli. All right. I'm sorry. Okay, so here's the thing. When you find yourself in a situation where you eventually get to the money conversation and your clients balk at the numbers like, that's outrageous, that's so much money, you don't deserve that, then generally speaking, you're positioning yourself in a place where clients aren't sure what to spend and they're coming to you with a very low budget in mind. So whatever number you say, it's going to be very high. If that's the case, you need to say the budget first and not last, because here's what's going to happen. If you're thinking you want to get $5,000 for a logo, I'm just going to start there, okay? Adjust the number as you see fit. So $5,000 for a logo. So what you want to say is, typically when I work with clients and they come and ask me for a logo, it's anywhere between $6,000 to $10,000, depending on what it is that they need. So you're anchoring and you're using price bracketing. You're going from 6 to 10. So now the client's like, oh my God, it's so embarrassing. I thought I only had 2. Okay. I'll tell you what, if we had $6,500, would you consider doing this? And you say, well, let's talk a little bit more. And so you're using the anchor bias, which is a form of cognitive bias, which is we focus entirely too much on the first piece of information that we get. If you want to be super savvy about this, you would say the 10,000 number first. So you'd say anywhere between $10,000 and $6,000. So the $10,000, that number is going to stick high in their mind and they're going to talk themselves up. Conversely, here's what's going to happen. If you're like, so what kind of budget do you have to spend on this? And they're going to say, I think we have $2,000. And then you're sitting there thinking, I wanted to ask for 5, but 2,005 is so high from 2,000. Look, can we do this for 3,500? Can you meet me there? And they're going to hem and haw. And they're like, well, if you think you're really good, okay, I'll come up to 3,500. And so if you're used to clients saying your price is too high, you should say the price first. Now, if you're going to meet a really big client and you have no idea what you're doing, it serves you best not to say the price at all. And if you think it's going to be a big budget project, you should enter into discovery and you should ask a lot of questions to your client and try to figure out what the task at hand is and let them ultimately say the budget first. Because if you're inexperienced, their number is going to be much higher than yours. So 2 schools of thought, they both work, they're both relevant. It depends on where you're at. Now, most of the creatives I talk to, their price is going to be too high. That's why I say it first.
Got it. Yeah, honestly, pricing has been like the number one question in our community because pricing is just, it varies from person to person, experiences, fields, and everything. So I'm glad that you brought up that point about like, really, it just depends on the situation and where you're at, because you don't want to get lowballed, but you also don't want to get ruled out if your rates are way too high. So I love that. Okay, next question is from Abigail W. Hi, Chris. Thanks for holding this AMA session. I'm about 6 months out of college and just moved to a new city and I'm applying for work. What moves make a candidate with little to no experience stand out in a sea of applicants for creative positions? Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, Abigail, first of all, congratulations. It's a tough time to be graduating school. Thankfully, I think the light's at the end of the tunnel. Hopefully, if all goes well, fingers crossed, come summertime, things are going to get a lot better. So hang in there, first of all. If you want to stand out, ideally what you want to do is you want to get the inside track. If all things being equal, you want to have some kind of relationship, rapport already built with the people that are going to make the decision as to who to hire. The best way I know how to do that is to start to engage with the content that those people produce on a daily basis. So right now you have nothing to do, presumably. You're hanging out at home, you can't go out, whatever, okay? Just go on LinkedIn, follow the people that make the hiring decisions and the creative directors, the art directors, whoever the principals are at this company, follow them, start engaging with the content, read their articles, watch their videos, make a really thoughtful comment that shows that you're a thinker, and you'll start to stand out so that when you show up and you mention your name, they're going to be like, oh my God, I know you. Where do I know you from? It's going to be that kind of like weird, like deja vu thing. And so here's another tip I'm going to give to you. Make sure your profile picture is consistent across all your social media accounts and that it somewhat looks like you. If you've lost a lot of weight, take a new picture. If you gain a lot of weight, I'm guilty, Take a new picture. Just make sure people know it's you. And this is really important because people use weird avatars and then I'll meet them in real life. They're like, oh, hey, Chris, I interact with you all the time. I'm like, remind me again where we talk? It's because they don't have an accurate picture. And you know this too. All you have to do is scroll through Instagram and you'll see people's biopic and then you see their real picture in their feed. And it's like, oh my God, you need to update your picture. It's not a beauty contest. It's are you a real person contest? And I want to connect with real people. So that's how you can get the inside track. The other thing you can do, really just general, just good advice, which is do your homework. Just study the company. Read up about them. They're probably taking out some press releases from time to time. Just be an informed person so that when you get the interview eventually, they're going to ask you questions and then you could respond in a way that other people aren't because you've done your homework. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, such great tips. Like when I was starting out in my career journey, that was honestly the first thing that I also learned was the profile pic. You don't want people to know or think that you're a bot. And by having it consistent, it's like constantly showing up in people's feeds, the same picture. It kind of leaves a mark like in their mind about who you are and like gives some familiarity. And so true on the homework aspect. So true.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how impressed like companies are when candidates actually do their homework and throw their content back at them. It's always a curveball. Yeah.
Yeah. Hard to believe, but I used to have dreadlocks. Imagine if that were my profile picture.
No way. You're
Yeah.
lying. Do you have a picture?
Yeah, for sure. I'm trying to find it, but yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Have it be the last slide of this talk, please.
My wife has it somewhere. I can't find it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Keep us updated. Okay, the next one is from Hibachi Fried Rice. I love the name.
Okay,
First of all,
right.
love it. Delicious.
Right.
How do you get over imposter syndrome when you start out as a junior designer or make a shift to a new field?
Yikes. Okay, how much time do we have? This is a big question,
45
45.
minutes.
We might eat up 42 of the 45. Let's go.
Okay.
Imposter syndrome. I think creative people suffer from this more than most regular folk. And it's because like we don't fit in the mold of things to do. We didn't follow the beaten path, the path well chosen or well trodden on. And so we're doing something weird and different. And so we become super hypersensitive to this. And especially if you haven't achieved all of your life goals, and who has really, you start to think like, gosh, do I do anything good or valuable? And the other thing about what it is that we do is what we do feels for a lot of us so natural to us, so natural to our being. If you've doodled all your life and now you draw and you're an illustrator you're an illustrator, or if you take pictures all your life and you really think of the world in these kind of moments, these frozen moments, it just feels normal and natural. So you tend to discard what is normal to you. Okay, so there's a couple of things that you're going to want to do. The best thing I know how to do is to try to look at yourself from the point of view of someone who looks up to you, someone who admires you. What do they see? And this is the cognitive dissonance that happens in your brain. So you think, oh, I'm so worthless. There's just, I don't know what it is that I can contribute to the world. And you share some of your images to one of your friends or to an uncle or to a grandmother or somebody who looks at you and just thinks, Johnny or Mary, you're just so amazing. They have like almost tears in their eyes at the talent in which you have. And you're just sitting there like, oh, this is garbage. I'm no good to anyone. So try to look at yourself from a different point of view. I think sometimes we become so self-obsessed and just zoom in on every little thing that we do, and we'll never live up to our own standards, our own tastes. And so if we can just stop looking inward like that and just chill out for a second and look at yourself from the point of view of someone else that admires you or looks up to you and see what they see for half a second. I think the other thing is, on a societal level, we're taught things like be humble, be humble. Humbleness is like a virtue, right? And there's expressions like you're getting too big for your boots, or too big for your britches, or did the door, like, don't let the door hit you. No, I'm sorry. Like, can you get through the doorway because your head's about to hit it? You still fit under your hat. So we have a lot of these expressions because humility and being humble is seen as something to live up to. And part of being humble is to not to recognize your own gifts and contribution. So it's culturally, like, it's frowned upon for people to acknowledge, like, I think I did something good, not in a proud, boastful way, not in a braggadocious way, but just to acknowledge you did something good. So I find that cultures, especially that really instill upon people to be super, super humble, they also suffer from a large degree of imposter syndrome. So my thing is generally, you've got to learn to love yourself, to love all the parts about you that are good and some of the parts about you that are kind of not so good, to love all of it, to accept yourself, because someone who doesn't love themselves is hard to love. So we've all been in relationships before, I think, with someone who's super needy, emotionally very needy. They need constant affirmation and support, and they suck all the energy out of the room. And if you've been in a relationship like that before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's no space left for me because all I'm trying to do is to fill that void, that vacuum that exists inside of you. And eventually those relationships don't last unless they become codependent. So I say first and foremost, you should be your own number one fan, to love the things that you do, to appreciate what you do as not ordinary. And you begin that new cycle of looking at yourself from a different, healthier point of view. That's all I got to say about that.
Gosh, Chris, you're gonna make me cry right now. And
You
I
can
feel
cry,
like
by the way.
and I feel like everyone else in chat as well. Like people are saying like this is so true, preach. Someone said like this really hits home for us. Like this is something a lot of creatives go through. So yeah, definitely, yeah, powerful, powerful words, Chris. Um
Shirley, you know the dating advice is coming. It's coming. Everything's a relationship.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Wait, talk more about that. What do you mean by that? I'm
What I mean by that?
curious.
Yeah, so
I'm
you know, people
curious.
think, oh, I'll just go to Chris and ask for some type advice or how to price a logo, and I tell them, you know, everything's a relationship between you and yourself, you and your partner, whether that's your spouse or somebody you're dating, and the clients that you work with. It's all about communication. So there's the external communication, which we mostly focus on in a Western culture, but what about the internal communication, the dialogue you're having with your inner child? Those are all
Mhm.
important, and they're all very consistent. Here's one thing. Here's a quick check for every single person. Okay? The check is this. Would you ever say to one of your friends the words that you say about yourself? Just think about that for a second. Like if you do something and you think that's terrible, you're like, that's stupid. That's the worst thing ever. Would you ever say that to your friend who showed you a piece of work? Would you say that to a stranger? You might say that to an enemy, but you definitely wouldn't say it to a stranger or a friend. But yet we use this language internally all the time to describe ourselves, and it's so damaging. I don't want to like open a can of like psychological psychotherapy worms here, but there's this inner child, and we're not treating that inner child so well. And unfortunately, like we've learned really bad habits, like we parent ourselves the way we were parented. So look, there it is. I just opened a can of worms. I didn't mean to. So guys,
Yeah.
go talk to your therapist after this.
Okay. All right, so switching gears a little bit. I know we got a little deep with the
A little
self-love
bit.
talk and the relationship.
Yeah.
Switching gears a little bit, let's talk a little about business. So, I have a question from Colby Kleitz. I believe he's in the chat, so say what's
Okay.
up, Colby. Hey Chris, I appreciate all the resources and talks you host online. As a young designer, it is an incredible resource and it's greatly appreciated. I also enjoyed your talk at Creative South in 2019. Someone did his
Oh,
homework. You got a
all right,
fan.
all right, all right.
All right. So
Yes.
here's the question. So I've been freelancing now for close to 5 years, while also working full time as a creative at different organizations. My end goal is to grow my freelance business, Kites Creative, one day into an agency. What steps can you recommend in order to transition my freelance business into a legit agency?
Okay. Deep breath.
Take a breath, breathe.
Yeah. The first thing you need to do is you need to stop thinking of yourself as a freelancer. I would love to abolish this word, especially because most of us use it the wrong way. A freelancer is a temporary employee that works for a company without the benefits of an employee. A freelancer sells time. A freelancer cannot have other people do the work for them, right? Like imagine if you freelance for a company, you showed up and the boss is like, who's that? Oh, that's Dave. Who's Dave? He's my intern. Dave's going to do the work. I'm going to sit here and art direct him. I mean, they would throw you out on the street. They're like, we hired you, not Dave. If we wanted to hire Dave, we would have hired Dave. And so there is a need for freelancers in the world. I worked with lots of freelancers, but what you're talking about is you're an independent business owner. You're not a freelancer. You just call yourself a freelancer. You work for multiple companies. In theory, you're selling results and not time. You're managing your own time. You work your own hours and you do whatever it is that you need to do. All you need to do is deliver what you promise at the time in which you promised it. And you can have 4 people work for you. You can have 40 people work for you. You can do all the work yourself. You engage in things like marketing, writing proposals, and instead of getting booked, you get jobs awarded to you. It's a whole different mindset. So the first step towards becoming a business owner is start to act and think and talk to yourself like a business owner. That's the first part. So we have to teach you some business skills now. Okay, so you have to engage in marketing. The most critical thing for your business right now is to get a steady flow of client work. And David C. Baker talks about this. He said the formula for confidence, as far as he can tell, is when opportunity exceeds capacity. So you take the number of opportunity and the amount of capacity that you have, and the more capacity you have of that opportunity, your confidence score goes down. So you have 10 clients calling, but you can only work with 2 clients at a time. Imagine how that would make you feel. And the way that you do that is to be properly positioned in the marketplace so that you're attracting the right kinds of clients based on a narrow area of expertise. You want to focus, and focus is really, really important. Okay, it's how you separate yourself from everyone else. It's how you become seen in the marketplace as an expert, an authority. So you got to choose a lane. You can't take all lanes. Choose a lane and go deep. Then you'll get more opportunity.
Awesome. Solid advice. Okay. Also on the topic of business, this question comes from Maddie Beard. After a client project, how do you measure, prove, and show the value or impact it had on their business?
Okay, Maddie, I love your question. It's also a sign that we've not started the project correctly. Okay, how do I know that? Because at the beginning of the project, you should be asking your client, how will we know if we're successful when we're done? How will we measure success? And there can be quantitative things or qualitative things or a combination of both. When we increase visitors to the site by 10,000, okay, I could measure that. Now we know. If we reduce the bounce rate on the site down by 2%, okay, we can measure those things. If we can increase customer satisfaction, okay, this becomes a little bit harder to measure. Well, how can you tell about customer satisfaction? Well, Yelp's figured this thing out. They get people who eat at restaurants a review, and then they average those reviews together to come up with a score. The higher the score, the more satisfied people are. So you can ask your clients when they say things that are soft and hard to measure, well, how will we know? Well, every customer that buys a product from us, we have them fill out a survey. Well, fantastic. What's the average score right now of the previous 1,000 clients or customers, or 100? It doesn't matter. So when you're done, you're going to say in 3 months' time, let's revisit this and see if the things that I've had an influence in making have moved the needle for you. So you don't define those metrics and don't do them after the fact. You should do it before you start. And then you can easily slip into the value conversation. So if we increase the number of visitors to the site, we reduce the bounce rate, and we improve the customer satisfaction by 2 points, you're going to be really happy. Well, what's that worth to you? You see, so we need to talk about how to measure success before we start. We need to assign a dollar value to each one of those things.
Awesome. Okay. Great points. Hope that answered your question, Maddie. Okay. And now those were from Discord. I'm in the chat right now.
I see. Look at you.
Discord questions. Now I'm in the chat and I had one flagged. Oh, here we go. Found it. This one is by...
How do you flag a comment on Discord?
I actually just screenshotted a lot of them. So everyone posted their questions for an entire week leading up to this event. I went in, grabbed them. So yeah, but now we are looking at all the questions in the Zoom. So if y'all didn't notice, there's a Q&A button to the bottom right of the window, like right there. You can submit your question there, and then I can see it. So it doesn't
I
get,
see.
yeah,
The
so it
Q&A
doesn't get,
ones.
yep, so it
Yeah.
doesn't get drowned out by chat.
Mhm.
Okay, so this next question, it comes from Jacob Brown, and it says, "Hey Chris, how do you stay so on top of your social media without becoming distracted by it?"
That's a good question. I don't know if I'm so on top of it as you may suggest, but I appreciate that comment, Jacob. Part of my life and my work and my joy is actually to answer questions and to read the comments, especially after something's been released. It's what informs what I do next. So if we make a video that we think, I think this one's going to be a good one, and nobody watches it, and everybody's like, this is too long, it's too stupid, it's too irrelevant, and the music's too loud, and we're like, oh, we messed up again. We need to use that as valuable feedback. So I actually read it and I respond to it. And I also want to make sure that people who engage with our content, especially when something drops, those first critical 24 hours, that they know I'm here. Like, I'm literally the guy who's responding. And they try to test me all the time. Like, is it really you? Is this your intern or assistant? And then I'm like, what do you want me to say? You want me to insult you so you know it's me? And then like, okay, it's you. It's fine. So I do that because the algorithm says, hey, this is a hot piece of content. There's really high engagement on it. And maybe we should share this with more people. So there's a lot of value there. I reward people who engage with the content early. I give them, short but hopefully insightful answers to their questions. I get valuable feedback. I get algorithm love, and it gets served to more people. And over time, what people do realize is that if they comment early, they are actually getting me engaging with the content before it fades away from my radar. And so I think it works well all around. I would suggest that every single person who's struggling with this, just pick one platform to do well on. Don't spread yourself so thin. It's just the law of concentration, right? There's only so much of you to go around. It's like a little pat of peanut butter. If you put it on 10 pieces of bread, it's not a very delicious sandwich. But if you got one good pat and you just make a really like a nice finger, what is that called? A finger sandwich? It could be good. And that's what you want to do. Focus, concentrate. That's it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So that's the secret to
It's the secret.
your social media strategy, because I've seen your content and it is amazing. You are so on top of it. And honestly, like what you said earlier about like the first people who comment on your post, so true. I
Yeah.
posted you on stories, liked your stories, and you liked me back. So I was like, that's him. That's
me.
him. It's you.
It's me. It really is.
You. So yeah, super happy about that. He's not lying about that, guys. He's real. It's not his interns. It's not his
I
team.
don't have
It's really
anybody.
him.
I need to hire a virtual assistant, but I have not had one. So there you go. Secret's out. It's just me.
Oh, okay. I was like, virtual assistant? We got people looking for jobs in chat. We got a lot of people in here.
DM me.
Yeah. Oh, you heard him first, people. DM Christo
Yes.
about the VA position. Okay, perfect. So speaking also about social media, let's talk about LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is
Okay.
a little bit tricky. So this
Yeah.
question comes from Jerome. Jerome? Yeah,
Jerome.
Jerome.
Okay.
Hi, Chris. I'm wondering if LinkedIn is a good place to reach out to potential clients. And if that's the case, what is the best way to start the conversation without being seen as aggressive or salesy?
The secret to not being aggressive or salesy is don't be aggressive or salesy. It's just like that. Like, how do I be a nice guy? Well, you just be nice. So there's some rules, some etiquette rules on social media, okay? It's if you haven't given value, do not ask for anything. Rule number one, if you've not given value, do not ask me for anything. I will go out of my way to block people on social media when their first comment to me is, hey, can you look at this? Can you do this? I got a timeshare I want to sell you. It's like, no, I'm going to block you right now. I don't need a new employee perk program right now. I don't need that. I don't even know you. Get to know me first. Like, take me out on a date, buy me a drink or something. Just don't go straight for the kill, you guys. It's too much, too aggressive. The best thing you can do, we've already said this before, but LinkedIn is an amazing platform to connect with business people, real genuine people that are actually looking for you right now. So what you want to do before somebody will accept your connection is just comment, engage with their content, follow them, just get to know them. One thing that I'm doing right now, because I have a backlog of invites, is if somebody makes a thoughtful comment, I'll look them up. And if they haven't already tried to connect with me, I'll take the initiative and I'll connect with them. What a great way to flip the table, turn the tables on people, right? So engage, write something smart, contribute. Don't be a smart aleck, write something smart, be thoughtful. And if you do that, eventually when you reach out to them and say, I'd love to connect with you, now write a personal note. Don't tell them your whole life story, 1 or 2 sentences, that's all it needs. Do not write, LinkedIn recommends we should connect, or I like people in your space. Super generic. If you don't write me a note, I might accept you. But if you write me one of those generic notes that's auto-populated, I delete and I block you. And I accept the ones that write me a thoughtful note right away. Somebody that I know has seen something, has read something that I've done. So I'm like, okay, you're a real human being. Now don't screw that part up. You're off to a good start. Start to think about what it is that you can do that will help them. Phrase it like that.
Yeah, that's a great tip that you mentioned. I get a lot of stuff in like my LinkedIn DMs, like from like recruiters and stuff like that, and it's all so copy and paste. Like, like, did you really look at my experience? I don't know about that. So definitely don't want to come off that way as a copy and pasted message, because I agree. That's the quickest way. You get ignored or blocked. Okay, so next we have another question from Laura Escobar. Shout out, Laura. I see you're in chat. Thank you
Hi,
for being
Laura.
here. Hello. So she says, "Hey, Chris. First of all, thank you so much for doing this session and being open to share this time with us. I wanted to ask about being a loud introvert
Yes.
because I'm also an introvert with the goal of being heard and would like to hear your tips on how you reach that inspiring loudness."
Yeah, it does seem like the world is dominated by extroverts, right? It seems like it. And what are we introverts going to do with ourselves besides hiding in the corner? Okay, I want to just prove to you what a big nerd I am first before I answer your question, okay? Because people are like, no, it's not possible. My students used to say this to me too. I remember because I'd go to class. I'm crazy in class, by the way. I'm very loud in my class. And like, there's no way you're an introvert. We just don't believe you. And then what happened was one of my students started to intern for me. And I had to prepare this talk for the Motion Design Conference in Santa Fe. And I was a wreck for months. I was a wreck because the person who was organizing the event wanted me to submit my talk beforehand. She also wanted me to memorize it because she billed it as the TED Talk for motion designers. Like, I don't need that kind of pressure in my life. I hadn't done a lot of public speaking prior to that. But I was a mess, and all my interns were looking at me like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, I got to do a talk, and I haven't finished the talk. I'm rewriting the talk, and I'm on my 44th draft of the talk, and I fly out to Santa Fe in 3 days. And they're like getting nervous for me now. And then finally, this intern who was in my class, she's like, you're right. You weren't lying. You were so weird. I'm like, yes, I am very weird. And I wind up doing this talk, many sleepless nights, nightmares about the whole talk, and eventually I get over it. But here's the thing that I realize about almost everything in your life. The things that scare you make you stronger if you just do it. And the more you expose yourself to something, the less that thing has power over you. And just think, if you've never had spicy food before, like some of my friends, you should dash a little black and white pepper on their thing that, and the Asians are like, are you kidding me? Black and white pepper? And that's spicy for you? It's just increasing your tolerance, right? So you'll have like a serrano pepper, a jalapeno, and you'll go all the way up to the ghost pepper eventually. But that's how you do it. You just expose yourself a little bit at a time. And what you'll realize is that the fear that you have in your head rarely ever plays out that way. It's never that bad. And you learn so much more by doing it. If you have the opportunity, do it in small ways so that the risk of the total disaster and failure is finite. Like say you totally bomb and it's like 4 people on Zoom. You'll live. Just don't call those people again. You'll be fine. You don't have to leave town. You don't have to do anything. They're just on Zoom. Then increase that to 12 people, and then 20 people, and then 100 people, and then 500 people. It gets easier every time. It's not easy, but it does get easier. And that's the whole goal.
Yeah, solid advice. Shout out to all the introverts out there in chat,
I think that's everybody, isn't it?
including me. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Duh.
All right, so while we're on the topic of
Hey,
introverts,
can I tell you a little joke?
Oh yeah, go ahead. I
There's a
love
comic,
jokes.
I forget her name, but
Okay.
she goes on stage and she's like, where's all my introverts at? It's quiet in the room. And then a couple of people are like, woo woo. She's like, liar. So yeah, I'm going to do that joke eventually on stage.
Yeah, definitely. I feel that, except everyone, it doesn't really work on chat because now everyone's
No.
like, woo, introvert club.
Yeah, woo woo.
Woo. This is so
Real
different
brave of
from
you
my
to
family.
raise your emoticon hand. Woo
Yeah.
woo. Yeah. Okay, that's my joke
That's so
that I stole.
funny. Oh my God. Keep it. I love it. Okay, so while we're on the
Congrats.
topic of
Yeah.
introverts, I have a question from Charlene, and she says, Hi, Chris. Do you have any tips to help introverts perform better during job interviews? I have confidence in my work and process, but it doesn't always come through when I talk about it. Reacting on the spot with a thoughtful response is also challenging.
The key is just to slow down. Just slow down. Breathe. If somebody asks you a question that you don't know how to answer, here's a trick my business coach taught me. Just say, can you phrase it in a different way? And then they think about it, and then they phrase it in a different way, and gives your brain all the time to think of an answer. If you really, really, truly don't have an answer, just say, you know what? That's a fantastic question, which warrants more thinking. Do you mind if I get back to you to give you a more thoughtful answer? I just don't want to make up something right now. You'll gain so much more respect, and oftentimes you'll never have to follow up with an answer. I've done this with clients before. They'll ask me some crazy question I don't know anything about, and I'll say to them, I got to get in touch with my team. There's an expert that's not on this call right now that could probably answer that, and I owe you a better answer than the one I can make up. So that's one. Two, it's just like your mindset, which is probably more important than anything else going into this, is if you tell yourself the narrative that this is the most important thing ever, that you don't deserve to be here, and that you're not good in these situations. Well, guess what? You have so much pressure on yourself, and you're not going to do well in this interview. Why don't you change the narrative? Change the narrative. You know what? They're interviewing me, and they only interview people they think are qualified. This is about determining fit. And so the other person wants to know some things about me, and I'm going to do my best to be clear. All I'm going to do is provide them the best information that I can provide, and I'm going to stay out of the results. What happens afterwards is completely out of my control. That person could have a good day. They could have a bad day. They could have a bias for me and a bias against me. There's nothing I can do about those things. All I can do is show up to be who I am, to give them the information that they need, and that's it. The rest will sort itself out. And if they're not smart enough to see the talent that lives inside of your body, give it to the next person. Their loss.
I'm gonna just let that sink in really quick. Yeah, it really is their loss, you know? If they don't want you, move on to the next. It's totally fine. All you need is that one yes from an employer, and that's all you need.
Yeah. And one way to think about it too is that every no, it's probably like a blessing in disguise. You just didn't realize it yet.
Yeah.
You might have dodged a bullet.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Every no is one step closer to your yes. So don't lose hope. Okay. So shifting gears now from talking about like working like for yourself and like doing your own thing. This question comes from Brendan Boyle. Hi, Chris. I run a relatively successful design business. But over the years, I've grown less enthusiastic about it and gravitate towards my true passion for art and illustration. What are your thoughts on pivoting your career when there is a number of people that I hired who will also be affected?
Okay, that one hits home. It's home. I used to run this company called Blind. Switching gears and becoming an education company impacted everybody's lives, even the ones who wanted to go along the journey with me. And clearly, there were some who didn't want to. And I owed it to them, first of all, as a person, to set an example. Like, I want to live the life that matters. I want to do my genius work, the work that's going to make an impact, the deep, meaningful work, right? I'm not going to show up and pretend to be somebody. As I'm telling them, don't show up and pretend to be someone. And so we're all allowed to change. Life would be really dull if we were never allowed to change. What you want to do is you don't want to just change on a whim and not think it through. So it seems like you already know that you want to be like an artist or an illustrator or something like, is that what you said? Yeah, art and illustration. And that's what you want to do. And that's what makes your soul happy. You cannot deny your own happiness to make your employees happy. And they might even be that happy, to be honest. So what you do is you lay out the plan. You say, I'm going to start to shift the focus of this company, and we're going to move more towards art and illustration. I realize it may not be a good fit for everyone here. So if you recognize this yourself right now, let me know. I'll help you find another job. We'll make sure this transition is as smooth as it can be. Those of you that think you want to go along with this journey, here's what I would like from you. I'm not guaranteeing you that this is going to happen for you, but I want to give you that benefit and try to take you with me. So when we went from from blind to the future, we lost a couple of people. We lost like 4 or 5 people, mostly in production and sales, because we don't know how to sell education. This is a totally different market space. We have no contacts. So one by one, they quit or found a way to talk themselves out of the job. Then there was this group on the right that were 100% with you, Chris, and they went with me all the way. Then the ones in the middle, I did my best to help them along the way. Some made it, some did not. And that's the best that I can do as a leader. And now we have a whole different company. And the people who are no longer with us are doing the things that they love and living their true life. And who am I to say that I can control that? I don't want that kind of responsibility.
Yeah, because it's really different when you are like a business owner and you're in charge of not only yourself, but like other people as well. So I think that that's a great point, like making sure the transition is smooth and make sure your people are taken care of will really like be a good move to go.
Yeah, Michael Sophia said something really smart here. He said, allow change when creating change. I love that.
Yeah.
There's some smart people in his group.
Yes, amazing. Okay, so next question comes from Winish. Hi, Chris. Thank you for doing this. I would ask, how would you approach clients to pitch your ideas? Phone, email, or social media, or something else? And how do you avoid to fall in that autopilot mode and risk of burning out?
That's 2 questions, is it not?
2 separate questions?
Yeah, they're very separate questions. Like one is how to pitch ideas to clients, and one how not to burn out and go into like complacency autopilot mode. Winish, do you want to pick one or the other, or Katrina, will you pick one for them?
Let's do the first half because I feel like we can also even talk about burnout afterwards. It's its own separate thing.
Okay. So how do you pitch an idea to a client? Do you think it's about a business idea that might help them? Or what do you think the pitching part is? Were you invited to pitch? Or is this a self-initiated pitch? What do you think? What do you think, Katrina?
He said self-initiative pitch.
Okay, beautiful. Oh, I see Winish is right there.
Yeah, like, he's in the chat.
For Winish to respond.
I know. He's here. I see him.
All right. So this means you have an idea. You've been looking at a client's business and you're like, I have an idea I'd like to propose them. Here's the thing. The client needs to recognize that they have a problem before you tell them what the solution is. And the best way I know how to do that is to ask some really smart questions. Let's say, for example, you have an idea to build them an app because they're a restaurant and they don't have an app to expedite orders for pickup. Let's just say that's what it is. Okay. Don't just go in there and say, Mr. and Mrs. Client, I've got an idea that's going to revolutionize your business because there's all this takeout stuff and we got to adjust with the pandemic. I'm a software developer. I know UX and UI. I can do this for you. We can have you up and running in 3 weeks. That's a full-on pitch. If you said that, that might have been a pretty good pitch because you've identified the problem. The better approach, in my opinion, is to engage with them and say, Mr. and Mrs. Client, I've been to your restaurant for the last 10 years. I've been wondering something. Is there an opportunity in your business that you haven't been able to capitalize, especially when it comes to takeout orders? Well, Winish, we've been thinking about this the other day. And we've been wondering the same thing. But, these things are expensive and they take a really long time. How much do you think it's going to cost? Winish follows up. Well, we've heard that it costs 6 figures to launch an app. And it will take six months or longer. And you're like, okay, that doesn't have to be the case. In fact, I've been thinking similar things. It's kind of funny that you're coming to the same conclusion. Would you be interested in sitting down with me for like an hour? Maybe I can take you out to dinner. We can sit down. We can talk about a business idea that I think will solve your problems, but won't cost you nearly as much in time or money to develop. Well, fantastic, Winish. When can we do this? How does tonight sound? And then that's how you would do it. So you would start with a question. And if they say, yeah, no, we're not interested in that, we'll stop pursuing this. Because now you're just going to be trying to sell an idea that nobody wants. Okay? An idea has to feel right. It has to feel natural. And if you ask the right question, and if you phrase the question carefully enough, you'll find out your answer one way or the other. And you won't have to spend a lot of time working on a proposal or a pitch.
Awesome. Okay, so this question is for all my international folks. This question comes from Nietzsche, and she says, "Hello, Chris. I was wondering how one can take steps to start working internationally, what to look out for, and how to meet new prospects. Why I would like to go international, to do bigger projects that have impact outside of the Netherlands."
Hello, Netherlands. So first of all, I want to say the answer, begins with your mindset. You are as big or as small as you believe yourself to be, okay? And you have to realize that we're having a conversation right now via Zoom, via several different cities across the continent, across the ocean. How are we able to do this? And yet we're still connected. And it's because the web has shrunk the world. It's made it a lot smaller. Anyone can work from anywhere at any time. So you need to think and act like a global brand. That's what you got to do. And so if possible, you want to make it seem like you're this international entity. It would be ideal if you have a .com address. And if you wrote most, or if not all of your copy in English, of course, the products and the projects you work on could be in your native language, but you want to have that international style if at all possible. And you want to engage people on social media on the dominant platforms like Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and maybe Clubhouse now. And so people are going to get to know you. And they're not going to know that you're from whatever country or from whatever region. They're just going to know you as a person who has valuable ideas and really high quality work. And then once you establish yourself as on par with the international design firms, it shouldn't be that hard for you to get work then. If you just look at a couple of well-known US or British agencies and design firms, just look at their work. Look at how they present themselves. And if you were to hold up both of your bodies of work and your website and your social media accounts, if you can't tell the difference, not in terms of content and design, but just in terms of general vibe, you're doing really well. If you do that, you'll be okay. Hope that helps.
Awesome. Great advice. Oh, someone said, let's talk about Clubhouse. Just a one-off question, just like randomly comes to mind. You recently, not even recently, you started doing chats on Clubhouse. How's that going? And how do you like it as a platform altogether?
Yeah, it's going really well. I've only been on the platform for about 5 weeks-ish. I've grown to 44,000 followers. It's the fastest I've grown on any platform. And I had some misgivings about it. I had the usual dismissive comments like, oh, I don't need another social media platform to get on and just occupy all my time, whatever. And I bounced in and out of different rooms, and they're really noisy. Some felt very salesy. Some felt very tech bro-ish, if you know what I mean. Some were just poorly organized, low value, lots of talking, just overlapping voices. And so it turned me off initially. But then I started to think about it. And for me, whenever something's really messy or really noisy or poorly done, it's an opportunity. It's wide open for somebody to go in and do something that is thoughtful, intentional, and that is tightly moderated, and it gives a lot of value. And so that's what I focused on When they zig, you zag. And when they zag, you zug. So we're in the zag zug mode right now. And people are starting to recognize that when we host a room, it's going to be at a certain level of quality. And what Blair Enns had jokingly referred to me as I'm a ruthless moderator, and I am. I will cut you off because like we don't have time to hear your whole life story, and I don't want to hear you pitching. And that's what people used to do. They used to get on in these rooms and like, well, so yeah, I've started this company, does X, Y, Z, and you know, if you need these no, stop. So I'm enjoying the Clubhouse experience. It's very close to what I used to do in person in terms of teaching, having conversation that's bi-directional, right? Like when I make a video on YouTube, you can't really talk to me. You can't really influence the outcome of the video. But in a Clubhouse room, you can. And I think that's really neat. And I think we're so hungry to connect with other people that it's the right platform for the right time.
Very, very interesting. Everyone is getting super hyped over the Clubhouse thing and your content on there. Someone also said you do Twitter
I
Spaces?
just started this morning. Yeah,
Whoa, people are on it.
They are. They're so on it.
Have you used it yet?
Yeah, like literally I hosted my first Twitter space this morning, kind of bumbling my way through. Had about
Wow.
200 people in there. Not quite, but somewhere around there. So yeah, I see you guys. Look at you. You guys follow me around. I love that. Thank you. You're like my virtual
Snap.
posse. Love it.
Yeah, this is
Thank you.
the Christo fan club for sure.
Yeah. I'm excited about that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you something. I'm going to tell you something so nerdy about me, you're going to like throw up in
Okay,
your mouth.
tell
Okay?
it.
You ready? Okay, you get ready for this. Okay. I'm such a nerd. It's like, I don't know how to start conversations with people. I really don't. So like my whole thing is I'm just going to overcompensate on social media because when I see you in real life, you'll come up to me. You're like, hey, I love your content. I'm like, oh, thank you. And we'll just have a conversation because I don't know how to begin conversations. I told this story a while ago, but at my first ever Adobe Max, I think it was in Las Vegas. It was in Las Vegas. And my friend, former employee, was supposed to go. And at the last minute, she canceled. So I couldn't even give her a ticket to somebody because she canceled the last minute. And so I'm there and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to be at an event with thousands of people and I don't have a wing person. I don't have somebody to like go to the conference with and I'm just bumming out. But I was thinking, man, Chris, you're such a dork. If you can't feel at home at Adobe Max, where can you feel at home? At an NFL game? I mean, you have 8,000, 12,000 nerds and designers there. Just chill the F out. So I go to this thing and I remember this very clearly. And okay, you guys are going to laugh at me. I just waited in the hallway between sessions. Like when the sessions let out, there's a flood of people and they just move down the hallway to either get something to eat, to use the bathroom, or to go to their next session, none of which I registered for. So I just stood there. Like Bruce Willis in Unbreakable, you know, with my arms out, hoping somebody's going to say, hey, Chris, I know you. And eventually, after I got over the uncomfortableness of it all, somebody did say, hey, love your content. I'm like, thank you.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's what I do. I just put in all the work up front in writing, producing content, recording podcasts, doing Clubhouse calls or live AMAs like this, so that when I drop by in your town, your city, you might say hi to me. So because I don't know how to say hi to you. That's the thing. That's my trick.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's great. Oh my gosh. So you have 2 minutes left on the clock. And so while we were talking about while you're basically talking about like your personal brand and like making yourself known on these platforms so that when you do come into the city, you're a lot more recognizable. This last question, we're gonna end it off by with this question from Emily Luong. Hi,
Okay.
Chris. What tips do you have regarding personal branding? I find it much easier to create for a client, but I am pulled in too many directions when it comes to myself. Do you also use core or any other strategies for personal branding?
Yeah, we had this slightly similar discussion earlier today with somebody. It's like, man, if you're going to tell people you're really good at branding and you have no branding yourself, it's going to be a hard sell. I mean, if you're getting more work than you can do, don't sweat it. Don't even worry about it. This was true when we were hiring freelancers. When somebody said, "Oh, you got to hire X and Y, they're so good," and I try to go to their website and it's like 4 years old, I know that they're really good because they don't even care to update their site. But let's not be the person who talks about branding and doesn't do it for ourselves. That's kind of embarrassing at this point. So I figured this thing out, especially when it comes to personal branding. Personal branding is really about you telling your story. And your story might sound like your origin story, like, Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility, gets bitten by a radioactive spider. Superman's an alien from Krypton, lands on Earth. We know their origin story. What the heck is your origin story? Like, do we know? What was the moment in your life that changed everything? You're not a mutant and you're not an alien, I don't think. But something happened. Somebody told you something. An event happened that changed your life and changed the trajectory. It could have been when you were 7 years old. It could have been when you were 17, or for some people, 47. That moment when things change, that's your origin story. You want to tap into that. And here's the problem. People don't got time to be sitting around listening to your freaking long stories. So you got to reduce your story down. You got to just keep boiling it down until you find its essence. And the thing that I'd like to describe is you want to find your 2-word brand. 2 words that describe who you are. That's unique to you, where you can claim your space in that blue ocean versus the red ocean. The red ocean is where everybody fights and competes and they get slaughtered. The blue ocean is just somewhere a little bit away where nobody's competing and you get to own that space. You want to find 2 words that are kind of juxtaposed in meaning, not overlapping in meaning, okay? They kind of go like this. And what you want to do is just generate a lot of words and eventually cull it down to what you think is really true to who you are. That's your spine word, your backbone word. That's what supports this entire structure. And then you find a word that opposes that word that is also you. Usually that word is not that flattering. Okay, so I'm an introvert, but I'm also a loud introvert. Or I'm a kind critic. Like, yes, I am very critical, but I try to do it from a place of like wanting to help people out of a space of generosity. I might be considered by some people a diligent rebel. Like, I want to go against the system, but I'm doing it a systematic way. And somebody on Twitter said this about me. They're like, Christo, you are a charming razor blade. I told my wife, she practically spit out the food in her mouth. She's like, that's so you. You do cut people up, but there is a certain something about you that makes it tolerable. And so let me give you some examples, okay? Apple, what's their 2-word brand? Insanely great. Great is their backbone. Insane is about their attention to detail. Insane is not good and great is boring, but insanely great is totally Apple. You get that? Mini Cooper. I made this one up, but it's like Mini Cooper, really small but cool and fun to drive. Mighty small. That's Mini Cooper. And if you look at their advertising, their marketing, you'll see it packs a punch. It's sexy, but it's tiny. It's potent. It's powerful. And you think like Lexus. You remember Lexus tagline? They changed it a couple years ago, but it used to be the relentless pursuit of perfection, which didn't mean a lot to me. It sounded really super generic, but if you know anything about Japanese culture, it sums up Japanese culture perfectly. So it's just relentless perfectionism. It's that drive, just constant improvement, that it's actually noble. And those are some brands, and hopefully that sparks some ideas in you. Find your origin story, the moment that everything changes in your life, and you can never be the same again. Distill that down into 2 words. Your spine word, spine, like your backbone, and your word that juxtaposes and opposes that idea. When you find those 2 words, you should be able to come up with multiple 2-word pairings that really describe you. Pick the best one and then build from there.
Boom. There it is. We have a follow-up. What is your 2-word brand?
My 2-word brand?
Yeah.
I already said I'm a loud introvert.
Loud introvert.
I'm a
there
loud
you
introvert.
go. Yeah, someone asked in the
Juxtapose
chat.
ideas. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, awesome. Amazing. So shout out to Michelle. She said, thanks so much, Chris, for the great advice. Lily says, still like an oxymoron, charming razor, jumbo shrimp. Haha.
Yes, very much so.
Nathan said 100% true, loud introvert.
Like efficient government.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Oh.
Oh, spicy.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Awesome. Amazing. Okay, so
Oh my God, I didn't realize I'm so far behind on the chat comments. I keep scrolling like, oh my God, it
yeah,
never ends.
I
I finally caught
know.
up. I'm caught up here. It's 5:04 p.m. I caught up.
I know. Yeah. Got a
Yes.
lot of chat. It's just never ending scrolling. I love it.
Oh, hey, I just saw Fernando who's it's a strange name, but he sent me like Hebrew titles. So thank you very much.
Oh
Subtitles. Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
cool.
he
Thank
said
you.
he's the guy that sends you
Yes.
Hebrew subtitles. Wow, nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Everyone's saying, thanks, Chris. Thanks for everything, Chris. Wow, wow, wow. Awesome. Okay, so I guess that means that is a wrap on today's AMA session. Thank you so much, Chris, for being here, and everyone in the audience today. We made it. We made it through.
We
Oh my
made it.
gosh,
We made
we
it,
did
fam.
it. I could breathe now.
No technical
Okay.
glitches, nothing.
Yeah, I am
Cray.
genuinely surprised. Yeah, but yeah, it has been a pleasure being your moderator. But before you all go, remember to hop into the Adobe Creative Careers server. Shout out to my mods in chat. Please drop the link, Beth and Justin, in the chat. Thank you. So don't forget to hop into the Adobe Creative Career Discord server and enter in our 3 giveaways, which I will talk more about right now. So the first thing, we are giving out 10 one-year Creative Cloud subscriptions. Woo! Yes. Yeah, super Bible. Chris said
Yes,
it.
yes.
Adobe powers his whole workflow. So
My
definitely
life, not just my
powerful.
workflow.
Your life, yeah. The next prize is we are giving out 100 copies of Chris's book, Pocket Full of Dough.
Signed.
Signed, autographed copies. And lastly, a private one-on-one session with Chris himself. Oh, snap. Can I get hype in chat for all those prizes? Oh my goodness. I am so sad I could not win. I literally told my team, I was like, can I get a book, please? Like, please. It's like, can I get a hookup? But no, these are all for you for joining this
Look at the
AMA.
chat.
Yeah, look at this chat. So much hype. How? Oh, Michelle asked, how do we enter? Well,
Wow, pray tell.
wow. Well, this is how this is where Discord comes in. So when you all hop into the Discord, under the Chris Doe section, you will see 3 channels for each of the giveaways. They weren't there before the session, but now they're
Oh, you're
live.
right.
Yeah. So you can submit your entries there. There are 3 different prompts you need to answer. So just type in your answer, hit submit, and then we will pick the winners and they will be announced tomorrow.
Wow.
Yeah, amazing. Awesome. So with that said, again, thank you all so much for coming out today, and we hope you got value from today's session, and we'll carry it with you throughout your career journeys. So thanks again. Also, Chris, thank you. Any last words?
Yes, a few last words. First,
Okay.
Adobe, you guys run a tight ship. Every time we try and give something away, it's a total cluster F. I gotta tell you, you guys are like, here it is, it's ready to go. Answer this question. It's like smooth, like ball bearings. And I have to just say, I almost got carpal tunnel just signing those books. So I hope you guys enjoy them. It was very repetitive, but I did it. I did it just for you. I did it. Not that many
No
signed
stamps?
copies exist.
No stamps? Just hand signed?
Hand signed.
Wow.
Yes,
Amazing.
just hand signed. Are you kidding me? I could not stamp that.
Of course not.
The internet would not let me hear the end of that if I stamped it. I can't phone it in. It's either signed or it's not signed. But yes. So thank you, Katrina, for hosting. You did an awesome job. I think people enjoyed this and I had fun. So thank you for doing that. And Megan, thank you for having me. As always.
Thank you, Chris.
I love this.
Thank you.
So thank you so much. I appreciate it. You guys, you don't know this, but this would not happen if it weren't for Adobe. I don't just randomly pop up and do these things, right? So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Chris. And thanks so much, everyone in the chat. Chris, could you play us out with some music,
Yes.
some ending, like whatever the future plays, whatever they end their
Yes,
anime with? Awesome.
Here's the music we always end on, guys. Here we go.
Awesome. I love it. All right. See you all next time. Have a good rest of your day. See y'all on Discord for the after party. All right. Bye, everybody. Megan, show us your moves.
What's that?
Show us your moves.
Oh yeah.
What's the move? Come on, Megan.
We're dancing out. Goodbye.
Talk about being shy.